Welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices. This is our second segment that we do. Make sure if you've watched the first, please watch the continuation on this. Before we left off, we were going to talk about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. But before we do that, I think the lovely Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell has something she'd like to say.
So, Brother Andar, how many years have you been doing this festival?
16 years.
16 years, okay. And then we were talking about using this as an avenue to create our own little Black Wall Street. Mm-hmm. So the first time I've been to your shop was when you invited me to do the panel for
Film Centers, yes. Uh-huh.
And I was not aware that you actually had a store in there.
Yes, ma'am.
And wondering how was that being advertised?
Oh, excellent question. It's a lot word of mouth through our emails, through sending out, of course, sharing postcards, sharing business cards. So a lot of is internal self-promotion. But we've advertised in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. So idea is trying to get the word out. But it's a great challenge because, in business, marketing is everything. Mm-hmm. And challenge sometimes is that how do we get our voices out there? And it's challenging right now. But the idea is that with this kind of event here with the Kwanzaa Market Festival, it creates an opportunity for us to say, look here, you just have to come out and enjoy this today. You can come out to the market, all the time, because you just give me a call and we'll be there. But the idea is that we want to make sure that people are aware that this is not just our one-day event. This is something that we do throughout the year.
And the reason why I'm bringing up what's the name of your business again?
My Art Bookstore More.
The reason why I want to bring this up is because that was a safe space for us to discuss things.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, uh-huh. And of course, you had books, videos,
yes,
all kind of things that we could buy. In fact, I bought a couple of items.
Yes.
But I would encourage everybody that if you haven't been to My Art Bookstore.
Yes, My Art Bookstore More, 3455 Martin Luther King Drive. Just come by, family, because we have books, we have videos, we have clothes, we have shea butter, body oils, and many other products that I think you would find worthy of purchasing and giving as gifts.
And you also do panel discussions there.
Yes, and of course, Dr. Sharon was talking about we had a great time. We had a discussion on the film centers, and of course, she was one of our panelists, and of course, Mr. Dawkins in the background, he was one of our organizers. But the idea is that it was a beautiful discussion, and it just created a beautiful atmosphere where we was able to share information with each other and learn from each other.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into the 7 principles. I gotta admit, man, I've known about these for a while. Can you recite them all?
No.
Okay, neither can I. Can you recite them all? Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell us about. Confession is good for the soul. Okay, so we need to be able to.
Well, you need to speak for yourself.
I would say the 7 principles are principles we live every day, pretty much.
Okay.
The idea is that when these principles were established, they were in Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles. Some refer to as the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and that was one of the main reasons that this Kwanzaa celebration was created by Dr. Maulana Karinga, was really to get us to practice the 7 principles every day throughout the year. Well, the 7 principles are, and I'll say it in Kiswahili and in English: Umoja, unity; Kujichagulia, self-determination; Ujima, collective work responsibility; Ujamaa, cooperative economics; Nia, purpose; Kuumba, creativity; and Imani, faith. So those are the 7 principles. And each day of Kwanzaa, you reflect on the principle. So December the 26th, the first day of Kwanzaa, we talk about the principle of unity. We look at the past and then we plan for the future. How can we strengthen our community in unity? Second day, of course, December the 22nd, Kujichagulia, self-determination. How can we practice being a self-determined people, doing for ourselves, creating for ourselves? So each day, one of the principles is highlighted and discussed.
I've got a question, and I'm really not sure how to frame it, but Kwanzaa is really an African American celebration. It's not really African, correct?
It's an African American, Pan African celebration. Why African American? Because first it was created and first celebrated here by African Americans. We say it's a Pan African celebration because now, from that small celebration that began in 1966 in Los Angeles, California, you have estimated over 20 million people of African descent worldwide celebrating Kwanzaa.
And I think that that's what's important, is that we have now something, I think, to give back to Africa, and something that they can do. To me, when you talk about, what's the second principle?
Kujichagulia, self-determination.
So what's the third one?
Ujima, collective work responsibility.
Okay, so collective work responsibility, that's the one I'm thinking about. Okay. We can become united through some of this, the things that you're talking about. And when you talk about these principles, these are principles, let's say we practice them every day. We just don't have a name with them. But I think that once we begin to coalesce, so to speak, with the African continent, and it helps us to come together to actually be one with each other. And I think it's important for them, when I say them, talking about Africans on the African continent, to be able to, not only do we want to embrace and rejoice what they have done, they need to understand our struggle and embrace what we have done as well. And I think this is something that can bring the two together.
And I definitely agree, because actually the celebration itself is very much rooted in African tradition, in the agriculture tradition. Kwanzaa means first fruit. It's based on a harvest celebration. So you have the Zulus, they have a harvest celebration. The Ga people, they have a harvest celebration. So Dr. Karinga, in his creation of this celebration, he wanted to connect us back to Africa as part of our history and culture. That's why he incorporated even the Kiswahili, which is an African language. So you see that connection historically, but I like what you're saying is that looking today and moving forward, how do we utilize these principles, this celebration, to build a greater connection? I think it's really in the principles. I think if we can, sometimes you don't have to put it's good to put a title to a word to it, but if you just practicing the principle, we had an exercise one time where we took each day of the week and named it as one of the principles. Like Monday was Umoja, Tuesday, Kujichagulia, self-determination, till we got down to Sunday, Imani, faith. So I'm saying if we can take the principles and live the principles, because our mantra has been celebrate Kwanzaa, live the 7 principles. Celebrate Kwanzaa, but live the 7 principles every day. And I think what you're saying, if we get people here in America and throughout the world reflecting and think about it, because you ever think about on the first day of Kwanzaa, you got over 20 million people across the world talking about unity. Second day, 20 million people all over the world talking about self-determination. Now that's powerful. Now can we organize and create a living?
We've talked about this on this show before, but we as Black folks are the 7th largest economic entity in the world. So if we were to put our money together, we would be ahead of Spain, we'd be ahead of Mexico,
Yes.
Okay, as far as our spending power. But because we get our dollars, it goes out, now we're trying to say, come back to Kwanzaa Market, and to be able to come back to that so that we can begin to spend with each other. My goal in going forward is to, if nothing else, remember these names, Mario. Okay? So
I don't know why you're looking at me, but let me say this since you brought it up. I don't know the Zulu names per se, but the 7 principles, I know them.
Right.
And without you saying them
Right.
in Swahili, I still know them.
Right.
And that's the beauty of
Yes.
the celebration, that ordinary people can just grasp the concepts
Right.
without ever memorizing the Swahili
Right.
names.
That's right.
In case you didn't know, Chris.
No, and that's a great point because it's not so much knowing Swahili. I know a few words in Swahili, but the idea is that the principles are universal principles and that's why I say we live them in every day in many ways, because we all out here striving to be in unity as much as we can with family and community. We all practicing self-determination as much as we can, So we're living these principles, and that's the thing. But and the last thing I would say though, it's like these principles are seeds. So if you plant the seed and you cultivate it throughout the year, meaning that you practice them. So during Kwanzaa, it's like a harvest time. So we get a chance to see, well, practicing unity, what did it benefit? How did it benefit us? Practicing, cooperative economics, how did it benefit us?
We got to stop it right there, and we'll come back. But no, we're going to pick that up as very good information when we come back.